Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com. And over here we have Finster, right? Are you there? Yes. Say hello. Say hello. Hi, Finster. Let me see if we can move this a little bit. There we go. Get a little room. There we are. There we are. So you're joining me today? Yes. She's joining me today because we're starting a new series. Well, we finished up the 5 greatest artists or conductors or violinists by composer. And now, by composer, we're doing a real project. The 5 greatest recordings of music by that composer. And we have a few constraints that I'm imposing while we do this series because I want it to be painful. Just 5. No honorable mentions. No discussions of the things you wish were there. No commentary about my list versus your list. Just give me your list. You want to take a nap? All right. Pardon me. She's taking a nap. Just give me your list. And that's it. And it's going to be difficult because if it's a composer who did lots of things, worked in multiple media, opera, symphonies, chamber music, whatever, you got to cover him. You have to include everything that they did as much as makes sense. Yeah, and we'll do this on a case-by-case basis. You'll see how it shakes out. But, for example, if you do somebody like, I don't know, Mozart, we'll get to Mozart. You know, he wrote operas, he wrote symphonies, he wrote concertos, he wrote chamber music. Well, I expect to see a healthy variety in your list, not just, 5 symphonies conducted by George Sell or something like that. Nope, that's not going to make it. And I will exercise my right to use the delete button with impunity. So let's do it right. I want to see a list for each composer that's going to give people the most fabulous possible discography for that composer because you guys are the best. You can do it. I mean, when I'm going to do a playlist for this series, just like I did for the, 5 best and worst lists. And I'm going to say absolutely that for people who are starting out on classical music, this is an opportunity to get the best possible lists of works from the best possible, smartest, most perspicacious, most dedicated, and tasteful and smart group of listeners anywhere in the world. I mean, I really believe that. That's who you are. And we're going to take our collective knowledge and we're going to create absolutely splendid lists of things for people to listen to. And don't be afraid to duplicate. If you feel necessary, when people duplicate, that tells readers who don't know the music that, well, a lot of people like this one. Therefore, this one must be something worth paying attention to. It's all valuable. And I thank you in advance for your participation because I know it's going to be just great. So we're starting with Richard Strauss, the 5 greatest Richard Strauss recordings. And here they are. Number 1, I have a little show and tell for some of these. Die Frau, ohne Schatten, conducted by Solti with the Vienna Philharmonic. Wow. First of all, it's the complete opera, no cuts. Second of all, it's Strauss's greatest opera, which gives you everything you want in Strauss. It has elements of comedy. It has all the expressionist insanity of Salome and Electra. It has the human warmth of Der Rosenkavalier. It's just got everything. And this performance is simply the best sung, conducted, and recorded available. It really is. You've got, let's see, who's in here? Placido Domingo, Julia Varady as the Empress, Reinhard Runkel, who actually sings the role of the nurse, which is almost unsingable. It's incredible. Jose Van Dam is Barak the Dyer. Hildegard Behrens is the Dyer's wife. Let's see, Sumi Jo is in here, Eva Lind, Albert Doman. It's just a wonderful, wonderful cast with the Vienna Phil going crazy. The sound is glorious. My understanding when they made this recording is that they had the Savalish, which had just come out like a year before, and they took that into the studio and they were playing it, making sure theirs sounded better. I hope they did. They should have competed. Anyway, that's number 1. Number 2, the 4 last songs with you-know-who, Jesse Norman. Some people actually claim not to like that because it's too slow, or they very snootily say, well, her voice wasn't perfectly suited for Strauss. I like so and that. Bullshit. It's just one of the most glorious vocal performances of anything ever by anybody. And yes, it is slow. So you can go out and buy fast ones if that's how you feel. But boy, oh boy, is it voluptuous and gorgeous and rich. And it's one of those records where you just get the sense, Kurt Masur is conducting, and you just get the sense that they all knew something special was happening. They really did. I mean, there's a feeling of just amazingness about this performance. You know, it was just absolutely reaching for the stars and succeeding in getting there. It's magnificent. And now Strauss wrote essentially, tone poems, orchestral works, and operas. I mean, that's what he did, and vocal music. So we've covered the vocal music business, and now we're going to talk about the tone poems, because those are the most popular things that he wrote by and large. And some of them, and I've left out some. I know that you guys are going to come up with alternate lists that are going to be just wonderful, because Strauss has tons and tons and tons of fabulous recordings, to his credit. He really does. And, so like I said, make your own lists. If I hear one comment about my list versus your list, you will be deleted. Just make your own list and let it speak for itself. So here we are, ready. First, Macbeth. I know this is going to come as a surprise because no one cares about Macbeth. It's one of his first tone poems, right after Alcitalian. And I think it's just exciting as hell, or it should be. And it is when Nimi Järvi and the Scottish National Orchestra conduct it and play it. My God, it's exciting. It's unbelievably exciting. It's a grim, bloodthirsty piece of music. It doesn't have any philosophical pretensions, as his later works do. It's just a ball-buster piece of orchestral mayhem, and that's how Järvi plays it. It's one of the greatest recordings of Strauss I've ever heard in my life. So that's up there. Next, Death and Transfiguration with Karajan, his last one. The one that he made just before he died. It's always a good thing to record Death and Transfiguration and then just kick the bucket. It works. And this performance, which was his last, and it's the digital one, it was made in 1983, it looks like, or thereabouts. The date is in the listing below here. Wow. Boy, is it intense. It is so intense, and it's gloriously played. And in this gold remastering, it sounds just enormous. And the climax is the most transcendental thing that Karajan ever did. And, Strauss, who didn't have a spiritual bone in his body, not a single shred of one, could fake it better than anybody. And Karajan was the greatest faker that ever picked up a baton. And so when you put the two of them together, you get just sublime results. You really do. It's astounding. I played this for a friend of mine when we were stuck in traffic on the George Washington Bridge, and we never wanted to get off the bridge. It was just dazzling. When we finally got to Queens or wherever we were going, we had to go over the Triborough then, and it was a whole thing. But when we finally got to Queensboro Plaza, we were just sweating. It was phenomenal. So this is definitely the one. Not the Einheldenleben that comes with it. That's, Karajan never got Einheldenleben. It was always way too serious. But anyway, Death and Transfiguration, Karajan, his digital final one. And last but not least, oh yes, Don Quixote, widely regarded as Strauss's finest tone poem, because it's a theme in variations, and it's witty, and it has lots of colorful detail and fun stuff going on. And this one with Rudolf Kempe, who everyone knows is just an amazing Strauss conductor. His Staatskapelle Dresden Strauss recordings are legendary, and deservedly so. But for this Don Quixote, he had the Berlin Philharmonic. He also did it with the Staatskapelle Dresden, but he had Paul Tortelier and Giusto Capone viola with the Berlin Phil, and this is on Testament. And there's something about this. This is another one of those performances where it all just happened perfectly. It's a stunning performance, just incredibly transparent, flowing, colorful. Everybody's on their toes. It was recorded in 1960, it looks like. Yeah, 1960, before the orchestra had become entirely Karajanified, with that heavy string sound that sort of, blotted out almost everything. But not in that Death and Transfiguration he made. He de-Karajanified himself toward the end there for a while. And this is just a knockout of a performance. Absolutely fabulous. Kempe was such a great Straussian, and Tortelier is on the absolute top of his game. So yeah, those are the 5 greatest Strauss recordings. Let me see what you think the 5 greatest Strauss recordings are. Everybody is interested to know. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.